Hey, listeners, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I just want to take a moment to mention the podcast sponsor, retrogamestore.com.au. Head over there for all your Game Boy refurbish and repair needs. Screens, shells, buttons, and all the bits and pieces. And there's a complete custom build made to order service as well. Also, plenty more retro gaming goodness like video cables, display stand and power supplies, controls, etc. And you can add the code PixelPie at checkout to get 10% off your order. Also, take a moment to say if you enjoyed this episode and haven't already, give it a subscribe or follow and a review where you can. And maybe you want to recommend the Pixel Pie podcast to anyone you know that would enjoy it. That'd be really appreciated. So thanks for listening, and now let's get on with the show.
Hi, my name is Neil Cairns, and you're listening to the Pixel Pie podcast.
Hello, Neil. How are you this evening?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you going yourself?
I'm doing very well. You and I were just talking a few moments ago about this is a sunny Queensland, down under, mate, and you've got a beanie on and I've got a jacket on. I know there's some people out there that are like in, Canada and Northern America, and they're like, dude, get 8 feet of snow up you. But freaking hell, it's kind of cold here at the moment, huh?
Yeah, man. We obviously don't handle the cold very well.
We don't. We're very warm-blooded. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man.
You're sipping on a little glass of port there. That's the right idea.
Yeah, mate. Love the port. So I got my little cup here, and yeah, we'll sip away all night.
That's the spirit. Or is it? Well, it's a fortified wine, actually. Not a spirit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Total tangent. Anywho, off to a good start. Now, Neil, I know you. You and I have shared beers together and been at Netherworld and a few other sort of different gigs like that. And Netherworld's a barcade in Fortitude Valley in Brisbane, Australia. And we've been wanting to do this for a while, but I think we might just sort of get straight into the guts of it. You have recently, as of like in the last sort of 3 to 4 weeks, become the owner or the creator of the world record point score for the infamous arcade game Ghosts and Goblins.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Dude, I just want to say congratulations. Even as a very amateur middle kind of ground gamer who finds almost every game challenging, I can appreciate how much work has gone into that, because it's just a brutal game. It would have taken about $60 off me in 5 minutes if I was to play that game. So yeah, I mean, tell us how it's sort of, this is your second world record, by the way, but we can talk about that later. Tell us about Ghosts and Goblins and what's the go and how you sort of got there and how you feel about it now. And yeah, fill us in.
Yeah, man. So it kind of started after I broke my first world record, which was Wonderboy.
Yeah. Also a challenging game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Different feel to like the 2 world records. Yeah. Wonderboy is very much like it's the same map throughout. So it's kind of like when you learn how to kill an enemy in a way that you want. And you can do that every time you play that board or that map.
It's a reliable pattern. Is that what you're saying?
100%. Yeah.
Right.
So
okay. So that spider will always drop from that tree.
Yeah, at that point of time.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah.
The way I explain Wonderboy is it's actually like a hour-long muscle memory at the end. Like you just. I remember when I was learning it, there was even times when I know I have to jump and shoot here, but I can't remember right at this time why. They're like all of a sudden it just like, goes into. Yeah, it's really weird because
like a fever dream.
It's when you play it for that consistently, you're killing things before they're even on the screen. Like there's like a part of the you have the ability to throw your axe off the screen, and you can hear that you're hitting things. So
that's Jedi shit.
So it was fun to learn, and it was great to learn, and it was a great way to get into the world records because, like I said, you could just learn these patterns. But Ghosts and Goblins, the reason why I started Ghosts and Goblins was because after finishing Wonderboy, I felt like I needed to do something more challenging.
You sure did.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's right. It was kind of like, where do you go from there? So you have to go up in my feelings, like, to prove myself. And like Ghosts and Goblins is just so notoriously hard.
It's ridiculously hard. Like, it really is a really hard game. I've played it. I've attempted to play that game on 4 or 5 different platforms, whether it be like Mega Drive, SNES, Game Boy. Like, the Game Boy Color game is actually pretty good. It runs really nicely, and arcade and stuff. It's an incredibly demanding game. When I watched you play your three runs you made at it, and this is the pixel perfect stuff where you were landing, like, if you're a dude, he was landing like with one boot on the edge. And sorry to interrupt. It really blows me away how hard a game it is. And in the end, you could see on your face from the streams, you were having to work.
Man.
I've watched your Wonderboy stream, and you were kind of like, okay, let's go. I just got to maximize, But Ghosts and Goblins, you were fighting.
Yeah, definitely. It's because every the monster generation is so different between like every game. Like there was times where there's like the game's still populating or throwing different things at you that you've never seen before, even after playing like hundreds of hours. So it's funny, after I completed the Wonderboy world record, I was so flat and over Wonderboy because I've just been playing the same pattern over and over again.
Very repetitive.
So, yeah, but like it's funny. I could easily go and play a game of Ghosts and Goblins right now. I absolutely love it.
That's nice. So, that's a very rare story. Story.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I mean, the randomness is, like I said, I play, and I think I'm actually starting to see patterns in games. Like, I've been playing a lot of like things like just sort of working through the Metroids on Game Boy and 3DS, and I'm actually starting to see boss patterns. And I'm like, I can actually play games now. And I remember watching, like, there's a stage in Ghostys where you're sort of sitting at a ladder, and there's 2 of those big dudes with belts, and you've got to scoot up. You're going to take a hit. You're 90% of the time going to lose your armor, and then go up the next ladder and move on and get on with it. And I was sort of watching them and thinking, what is he looking for? Where's the pattern? And if there's a pattern that those guys run, it's about 20 minutes long, because they were just kind of bouncing off each other, and just kind of, there was no real way. So a few times you got through with your armor still, but you could see the game was just fully out to get you. Pretty insane.
Yeah, man. That particular point is it's really rewarding when you can actually get through there with your armor on. Like, it took me a long time to practice that, but you just got to bide your time, and sometimes you even just have to lose your armor there, because otherwise you're taking too much time off the clock. Like, you just have to go. So
Does the clock really affect you? I mean, it looked like there was a number of times where I didn't quite understand how it worked until I watched you play, that you could go through and you could sort of like get to a certain point, trigger the clock into its next cycle, and then kind of come back and sort of work on some sort of respawns. Some people might call it point pressing, but at the end of the day, it's being generated and the bounty is there for the taking. And then once you sort of had used a bit of that clock, then you could move on again. Like, that was pretty interesting to see how you could, no one would think like, oh, now I've triggered the clock, now I'm going to go back. That stuff was pretty incredible.
Yeah, man. So there's certain points of the game where it's actually checkpoints of the game. So if you actually die, that's where you'll respawn at. But it's a bit funny. It's the only game that I know that has a checkpoint, but that there's no kind of actual visual sign besides the clock.
So
that's something that I've learned to do is like every kind of level you really need to maximize your points each time. So I quickly learnt where those points were and where it's best to get clock up points where you can.
It's
different
3 loops, wasn't it? Like 2.5 loops or something of the game.
So well, what's classed as a 1 credit clear of the game is doing 2 loops. So
really? Sons of bitches.
Yeah, exactly. What a brutal game. So they at the start of the game, you work your way through to the castle, to the boss at the end.
Yeah.
And when you beat the boss, they advise you that it's all a dream, and then you actually wake up in reality and you have to go through and do it all again.
Oh God.
They really enjoyed playing.
And then it's not a dream; it's a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, that's it.
It reminds me a little bit of I was the other day playing around with. I think it's I can't remember. It might be on GBA or maybe DMG. It's like one of the Wario games, and he just sort of the premise of the plot of the game is that he's like in his castle and some peeps come in and they steal all his crap. And then he sort of wakes up and he's like, oh, Wario, and goes, and then you play the game. But the game just sort of doesn't really start. You just sort of like, you're put into there, and there he's laying in his bed, kind of like, Link in Zelda style. And if you don't press any buttons, which triggers him to press the alarm clock, then he actually stays asleep longer and goes off into a whole different level at the beginning because they stole more shit. But it's like they were programming this stuff in, like, unless someone sort of put their thing down, went and made a sandwich, and then came back and went, huh? What's going on? Like that stuff's that's so good, right? Like
that's insane, man. Yeah, it's insane.
Some of those little triggers and stuff in games, they're so cool. Right. So the score that you got is 1,131,000. I see here. So you are currently, according to Twin Galaxies, which is as good as anywhere, because if you can beat that score, get up there and do it. You're currently number 1 in the world, and you pipped someone. So how long was that previous high score standing for that you took, that you knocked down?
I believe it was 2016.
Okay, that's pretty solid.
At Galloping Ghost Arcade, which is one of the big American arcades. I think it's in Chicago.
Yeah. Man, that's pretty cool, huh? Like to take out a little old netherworld in Brisbane. There's the Galloping Ghost. I mean, it's kind of the mecca of arcades as far as Western arcades go. There's a lot of cabs, and they really are right into that sort of, looking after the machines for the history of it, not just because they're no longer operators of a cabinet. They're protectors of this history of gaming, right up there.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, in regards to the score, it's a bit funny. I know who did the score, or no, like I know his name's Dustin Long, and I know that he had the world record. But it's funny. I don't consider myself to be competitive. It's a bit odd like that. Like a lot of people are they know I go for high score chasing and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, you're like me, you're competitive." But it's funny. I just see it as a score to beat, like a challenge, not as in like I want to take someone down or something like that.
I understand that. It's not like a Street Fighter match where I'm going to beat you kind of thing.
Yeah.
You've also got number 1 for Ghosts and Goblins, I think, on the MAME front as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So that's what I was practicing on to get the world record on arcade was because I didn't have a board at the time. So just had to use MAME as a stepping stone.
Just a running track's a running track, isn't it? On the day there's going to be wind and weather and nerves and stuff. So just run as much as you bloody well can. Kind of shit.
Yeah, that's
the board you actually had was lent to you, I believe, by Mark Bell from Sydney, from the Game the System podcast. So it was good to I know that like when Battle of the Arcades and that, there's a bit of rivalry between we're up here in Queensland, New South Wales, and then they got some stuff in Melbourne and that. To have that, him to sort of go, here, take this board and get it done. Like that's waving the Aussie flag. I really love to see that stuff in the community.
Yeah, man, and it's a fantastic Australian arcade community that we have because there might be some competitions where we go head to head against each other, things like that. But we all know each other pretty well because we go to these big events like the Kong Off and BPAC. But as soon as he heard that I was going for the world record and I was looking for a board, he posted it up for me, and we got it all fixed up, and just got the world record, and I'll send it back. He's asked me to sign it, which I'm a bit funny about, but
where would you sign it?
There's not much place to sign because it's quite bumpy.
Bumpy.
But there's there is a small flat surface area that I can sign where I'm not. Yeah, it's not close to any of the Capcom symbols or logos. Sorry. I'll sign it if he wants me to and send it back. So
it's pretty rad.
Yeah.
It's pretty rad. I mean, that's if I was him, I'd be like, yeah, sign it. That's great. So what's next? Are you one of these people that's like, I mean, obviously you've got a drive because you put a zillion hours into Wonderboy and then, a zillion hours in the Ghosts and Goblins. So, there's always going to be some, I think one thing that I really admire is that there's that whole saying, and it doesn't matter how big you are, there's always going to be someone bigger. So someone is going to take that score from you, much like the Wonderboy one was taken. And it's a special person to put all that time in and go, and you know what? Someone else is going to do the same thing and beat me by 20 points, and that's fine. How do you move on from that and find something else that's going to give you that similar kind of reward?
Yeah, it's funny you mention it because it's something I've been meddling with a little bit because when I broke the world record, the high doesn't last very long. It only lasts like a day or two. And especially Ghosts and Goblins, like I was working on that for about 16 months to get that score. So so when I broke it, it only a couple of days later I was hit with this emptiness of like, what do I do?
You're sitting at the table like, I'm not sure if you'll understand this film kind of like thing, but you're sitting at the table like, making your mashed potato in the shape of a castle. Have you ever seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yeah.
And he's like doing the mountain thing, and your wife's across the table. You go, Neil, no more games. No.
Yeah, pretty well. No, she's been pretty supportive actually. So, but
you got kids too and a real job. I mean, how many kind of hours a week were you playing? Because you could have the MAME and then like you could go in another world. How many hours a week were you kind of putting into playing this for over the 16 months on average?
It was probably I really put a tally out for an hour a night. So that was like when I first started, that was a good couple of like 3 or 4 games, that I could get in. But as it drags on, it's the one run a night. So, but I kept it. I literally keep a tally in my phone. Right. So if I miss a night, it means that I need to work up that hour somewhere else. Okay. And just kept on top of it like that. So
the nights where you went to bed and you were like, shit, I was close to goal X, sort of laying there going, I could get back up. It's only 11 p.m. I could get another run in. Did you have to sort of restrain yourself, or you're like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before.
There was a couple of nights where definitely frustration came in because like of it's you don't have time for another run. So you die early or something and you just got to like trudge on and you're just like shitty at yourself for the whole time. So I had a couple of those nights, but didn't ever get too late, but everyone's a gamer and knows what it's like. So
I can get stuck on a Saturday night with a little bit of like Tetris on the NES or something like that. And you're just sort of playing, listening to some music and you're like, you just like, oh, I know what I did there. I know how I stuffed it up because we're all like, 2020 hindsight. And then an hour and a half later, you're still doing it, and you're kind of like, it's time to be going to bed,
Yeah.
Mister. What is the kind of the process of working with like a venue like Jimmy Nails and Ben there at Netherworld? I mean, they know you because you've done it with them before, but what's the kind of the do you kind of sort of say in 18 months and set yourself a goal? Obviously, it depends on the individual that's going to go for these world records and stuff, but do you just sort of keep playing until you feel it, and then you sort of go, look, next Wednesday or 3 Wednesdays from now, or how do you kind of go about that? Because you've done it twice now. You have a way.
Yeah. So, um, the way I go for these records, or the theory I go in with it is, the best thing to do is to tell as many people as you can that you're going to break a world record on a certain game.
It's a bit like
this
I'm giving up smoking on the 1st of January. Everybody,
yeah.
committed. Yeah,
So
that's good.
That puts onus on you to actually go out and do this thing. So I was telling Jimmy and Ben that I'm going for the world record at Netherworld when I was on 100,000 point games.
Right.
So
fair enough.
that's kind of my it just works for me, and that's what I do. So when I get close to the mark, I just keep Jimmy up to date and just tell him, like this will probably happen in a couple of months or whatever.
Yeah.
And he whacks together a cab and gets it all up to ship shape. And we had a bit of trouble this time because we were without a board, and we were able to get that during marks. So
key component there.
Yeah, but Jimmy's been great. Like I think it's kind of good for him and good for me. Like I enjoy having my. I love Netherworld. Like I'm a denizen, and I love that my world records are there, and I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it any other way besides one, which I'll talk to you about. But so I think it works for both of us. Like he gets to promote his bar as like a, I don't know, place where people go to break world records.
Yeah, absolutely. And like when you, so the 3 days that you did it were like you did it like on a day and then you backed it up. Was it the next day or the next week? But then you gave it a bit of a few weeks off, just kind of regroup and just probably just like, I don't know, did you keep playing between those runs?
I did, but the reason for the main gap there, one, I ran out of annual leave, so had to watch that.
Because just you played from like what 9 a.m. till sort of like 5 or 6 o'clock, and you played 7-8 hours straight on each day. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, being a dad, I kind of had to do my work hour shifts playing this game. So I just worked up some annual leave and then rocked up at 9 and then played till 5. So
it's a big day.
Yeah, it was exhausting, and I on the third day that I did it, if you watch my run, I actually walked away for a while.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was turning into the other days, and like I just felt like the exhaustion of it, and like I'm gonna get close but not gonna get it. And like when I had that on that game before I walked off, I was like, I just need to shake it up. Like I just need to go out for a walk, come back, and then really crack into it. So
put on a fresh jersey and some fresh socks and just run back out there,
man.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that anybody that wants to, that watches that the last kind of 10 minutes where the actual CRT started wigging out, like I wasn't sure. I was watching it and I'm like, it's really weird how, because it's just basically a webcam on a frame and stuff, and I was like, geez, it's weird how that's capturing kind of the refresh rate of the screen or everything, this line to go across. Because you take photos of, like, you try and take a picture of your nice Trinitron with your Mega Drive on your phone, and it just looks like junk. and you're like, that's weird. But it became quite obvious there was something happening to the monitor, and you were like it would just do weird color shifts, and almost like like anybody that's played Pokemon, when you get poisoned, the whole screen just goes zzz, it just sort of like shifts and stuff, and then all I know is like, I think I heard like John Tannehill in the background saying, Neil, don't hit it. It won't make it any better. It might get worse. And you're like, what? Yeah. Don't hit it? No, don't hit it. And I was like, oh, no. I couldn't be in the room. I'd be like Johnny, just losing my shit, just going, I got to leave. Tell me if he does it or not. Oh,
yeah, it had to happen at the hardest part of the game. So like on the second last level of the second loop. And I just remember my dad to fix the TV. What did he do?
Bang it on the side.
Smack, give it a good whack.
Sure.
And to be honest, it wouldn't have been that off-putting if the screen just stayed still, but it was flickering so much, and then then it would stay still and get the capture properly. Even though it was still blurry, you could still kind of see what was going on. But thank God it held up, because I don't think I would have come back from that.
That was really cool. One thing I did stay to the very end, and one thing that I found was really cool was how the stream didn't stop, and then the cabinet was turned. And then the camera was there. Sorry, the cabinet was turned, and the camera was then moved so that you could go over the board and everything to kind of verify this is the cab, this is the board, these are the ROMs, and all that sort of stuff. And I think at that point, for me, it felt very official. To see you do it and everybody lose their shit, and I think Johnny took his pants off or something like that. That was cool. But then once I saw that happen, I was like, this is legit. Like, he did it. This is part of the process of, we've all sort of seen the stories about how Twin Galaxy has been over the years, but like, this is a process for those people that want to do it. Kind of, what's your advice on making a real crack at it? Because you could put all the effort in and then miss a detail and then sort of go, look, we really need to sort of see this. So what's sort of your tips about people that are going to want to do this sort of thing? Because you did, stacks of people do all the time.
Yeah, man. So first time, I suppose, making sure that you've got the right board. And when I say that, you can have a Ghosts and Goblins board, but just make sure that it's a genuine board, because there's lots of bootlegs out there. So
and we're talking about any game in general. This is just general advice, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, not a problem. So
because we don't want anybody to beat you. Let's leave that alone for a while.
Yeah. The main, I suppose, when you're going for the world record, it's important to have the one shot. Also, whatever you're recording it with, and if you need to show whatever you're playing on, if it's like a Nintendo 64 or whatever, you just got to make sure that shot is taken with the same camera in the same recording. To make sure everything's official. That's the main key thing. And if I was you, and something I'll probably do next time is to show my gear before and after the game. Make sure you get the picture of it actually, the game actually loading or turning on, things like that, because you definitely don't want to be going through all that effort just to find out that some people aren't happy, and you have to go through the whole process again.
Unfortunately, the world is rife with people that kind of want to try and cut corners. So these processes are there for a reason, for those like yourself that put the effort in, get the reward. And there is nothing but free beer and plenty of slaps on the back. So it's really a crime of passion. There's no doubt about that. Hats off to you. So what's next? I keep derailing you, but that's just the kind of person I am. What's next?
Well, what I've got next is Circus Charlie, which is it's a Konami clown game where you're a clown at a circus, and there's 6 mini games in it. So It's not a world record I'm going for. I'm going for max points. So I think there's 9 people who have got max points.
Right. So you just joined like an illustrious list.
Yeah, it's a bit like Pac-Man. There's the perfect that people have played the perfect Pac-Man game. So
okay.
you kind of join the list of people who have done that. So
right.
I plan to do that at Spacies.
Cool.
Up
Up at
Toowoomba.
Toowoomba. Yep.
Yeah. They sponsored our podcast, the Play It Up podcast.
Yep.
And also John McNeil has helped me. He helped me with my Wonderboy recording and stuff like that. So he taught me the ropes about how to do what we were just talking about, capture all the board and all of that jazz. And he put all the recording together. So and also Jerry's helped me along the way. He organized the meetup with Walter Day for the card ceremony because we got world record cards.
That Kong off 2019,
yeah. So I really owe them a lot. So I thought I would set the Circus Charlie record at Spacies, and then
you wrote that into your Netherworld contract, like they're all right to let you go.
I'm sure Jimmy would be. Yeah.
He's like, that's a silly game. Yeah, take that one at Toowoomba. That's fun.
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. Like all the venue owners here are such good mates anyway. So they all get along, and they understand that there's plenty of room to share. So it's really good like that.
There's plenty of Neil to go around. And look, I guess moving on from that point, when you say all the local venue owners are good mates, we're literally weeks away from Kong off. Obviously, we missed it last year. The whole world missed everything last year. So we've got Kong off, and then the BPAC, Brisbane Pinball and Arcade Collective, which is a sort of a 2-week festival of just gaming, arcade, pinballs, and it's within the name, isn't it? And that is really the only way that can happen is if all those venues. So you've got sort of Netherworld, and you got One Up Arcade, Steve over there. Probably there's a few other smaller operators around that participate in that. And I assume you're going to be part of that. Will you be part of Kong Off, or will you be focusing more on the sort of the general arcade champ side of it?
I've been practicing Donkey Kong for the Kong Off. So that's where I'm focused on at the moment.
Right.
It's funny, I was getting some all right scores before because that's what I was playing before Ghosts and Goblins.
Right.
So I was getting about I was consistently getting like 350, 400 games.
Yeah, nice.
And my PB is 590.
Wow.
But after playing Ghosts and Goblins like for so long and leaving Donkey Kong, like I've actually I've gone backwards a fair bit, and that's really frustrating me at the moment. So
what do you think that is?
Just got to learn the small skill sets again. Like Donkey Kong's such a finicky game. I think that's why people like it. Is the fact that
just to tame the beast.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so
survive that kind of. It's that real like sort of Indiana Jones, where it's like he shouldn't be able to slide under that door and not get squished by the boulder, but he does, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. So, just trying to get my iron with the spring level again, which is like very it's a pretty tight window. So, just things like that. But so it's going to be really cool if you're in Australia and you're keen on arcades. BPAC is definitely a place to be. I was talking to a couple of mates about it who are from Melbourne, and fingers crossed they're still able to make it up. But we were talking about how much our community, like the Australian community, really needs that again, to all be together as a community again, and just have beers, like I said, pats on the back, and have some fun.
Yeah, it is. I think when I kind of met a few people, I think Mike, who's a fellow podcaster with you on Play It Up podcast. When I met Mike was just before BPAC 2019, and then I'd sort of fanboyed out on a few of the guys from Game the System, and then I'd sort of also been to Sydney, and I'd been to 989, and yeah, that was pretty cool. And then when I saw Kong off, I was like, it was sort of like, I don't know, stepping through like a hedge into this secret garden of just all these dudes just playing these games like freaking demons. Like I'd played a bit of Donkey Kong and I was like, yeah, okay, this is cool. And I was here 25, 30K or something. And I think my PB's been like 102, and that's a one-off. But to see what people were doing and just kind of rolling and moving around, and the whole kind of like, you watch the Techios and the Shane Sauls and that, and it's just this sort of like, that whole Bruce thing is like be one with the water and stuff. And it's very much, it was like that, just watching people just kill it. It was pretty impressive. I'm just looking at the BPAC here, just for those that might be listening. This will go out in a couple of days. It's where we got from Friday the 16th of July, 2021 until Sunday the 25th of July, 2021. So if you're in Australia and you got some time off and you love arcading or pinballs, or you don't have to be good at it, just come and hang out. There's a schedule. Whatever it's under bnepac.org, Brisbane BPAC 2021. Go onto the dogs, and there's a big schedule there. Pincadia, Hutchies, and Coins, One Up, Netherworld, Pinball House. Jesus, look at, that's a pretty solid list of one little sort of city that's got that much support. It's insane.
Yeah, it's the Las Vegas of arcades, isn't it?
Yeah, the Bris Vegas even.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, there's it's an amazing collection. Like a lot of the pinballs at One Up, even like I know most people look at it as a arcade venue because of the amount of arcades they have, but they've actually got a really awesome lineup of pinballs there. But yeah, we're spoilt for choice. We've got 4 great venues, or 5 if you include Pinball House. But yeah, just every pinball game under the sun almost. So
yeah, it is pretty neat. So when you go up to, like, how will you kind of work the Charlie game, considering it's sort of up at spaces? You do a similar process where you kind of just MAME it for a while, or you'll have to go up there for a while? How do you adapt from like what you do on MAME to an actual cab? Because I've played a lot of Donkey Kong at home on my cab, which has sort of got, it's a 4-way stick, it's MAME. As soon as I step, and I can do okay, as soon as I step in another world, I play like junk. I can't get used to the cab. So how do you do that?
I've got my own controller. I don't know if that helps. So I've got proper arcade stick and buttons to practice on.
Yeah.
So that helps me a lot. I think it's important to go out and play arcades. I was talking to someone about this the other day, but just getting used to different controllers and different sets as well, or how different games handle. Yeah. Also, like if there's anything kind of wrong or doesn't feel right, the venue owners, if you're going for a world record, will fix that up pretty quick smart. Yeah. Which I found their Ghosts and Goblins cab. When I first jumped on, I was like, man, something's really off with this, the way that you move on ladders and things like that. And talked to Jimmy about it, and we pulled the arcade stick out, and it was actually set to 8-way,
right?
Instead of 4-way.
Yeah.
And yeah, certain games just don't handle that well, and like Ghosts and Goblins was one of those. But yeah, I suppose like I try and get out to Netherworld like once a week with Mike if we can. So like it's just getting used to those, like not just because I think people would just sit home and just play on their MAME set, but it can be a little bit different playing at a venue for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of Mike, I think it's Sunday, so this will go out on Saturday. And Mike, you never know, you might hear this, but on Sunday he's going for a 1.5 million in Gallagher. Whoops, don't punch me. Mike's a bit of a Gallagher beast. So yeah, at Netherworld there, Jimmy's giving him a bit of space in the corner. It's I spoke to him about what are world records, and world records for that game are like when he said 1.5 million, I was like, oh man, that sounds pretty hefty. But then he's talking about sort of 20 mil on marathon settings. That sounds sort of stupid. But
yeah, it's turned into a real marathon game. Like, you have to be at a cab for a long time to get on the world record board for Gallagher. But that's a really healthy track. Ghosts and Goblins, compared to Gallagher, is nowhere when it comes to how many people are playing it.
Right.
But it's Donkey Kong and Gallagher would be the biggest arcade tracks out there on MAME and arcade. So
well, Mike's got a tattoo of the ship somewhere, so he's fairly committed.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you should have. He's got a golden. I think he's got 2 now. So yeah, he loves it. That's for sure.
He does love it. It was one of the first games he played when he was much younger on his when they got that Game Boy. Yeah. So will the arcade champs? That's another part of that B pack. Is that? Will you be in on that, or will you just kind of cruise through and drink a little more and just catch up and everything? I mean, you've done your work. You're a Ghosts and Goblins world record holder.
It's
you'll be signing autographs and shit.
I'll definitely play in it. It's not something I'm going to spend time practicing though. There's a couple of games there. You only I think you only get 15 minutes per game, so it's not like you have to be close to completing a game to perform well. And there's a couple of games on the list that I'm okay at, like Frogger and Donkey Kong and things like that. So won't be paying too much attention to it, but just looking forward to hanging out with mates and drinking beer and playing arcades.
Yeah, bloody oath. I guess other stuff, like other gaming for you as a general player. I know that you and I spoke once. I was fortunate enough to be on the podcast with you and Sean and Mike, and something that you once spoke about that night was a little kind of Neo Geo, but it's kind of like a console, but inside it is kind of like a PSP looking Neo Geo. Is it the Neo Geo X? I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, man. It's called a Neo Geo X. It was released and then quickly taken off the shelves because of like a copyright issue or a licensing issue with some of the games. Yeah. Right. So you might want to, I didn't look into it too much at the time, but when I heard that something like that would be happening, I it's ran to EB Games and lucky they had one for me. So I quickly snapped it up and took it home. So it's
what year was this when you picked up yours?
I don't know. It was before. I think it was before kids. So like time's a bit funny. I can't really remember.
BC, before children.
Must have been like 2013-ish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So what it was it's a Neo Geo. Like it's got the frame of or the chassis of an old Neo Geo.
Like you said, the AES, I think, is the home console, is it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. And like you open that up and then you have your hand console inside. And it plays and feels beautifully, man. Like it's got all the old ports that it feels like you're playing the arcades with a handheld, which is like, well, you can't go wrong, can you, when you're playing Metal Slug 2 on a bus?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, right. And I guess it was just one of those. I mean, it's probably quite. Have you got like the box and everything still for it?
Yeah, man, I've got the whole set. Yeah, it's kept nicely. And,
You're just like, I'll just grab one of these. I think that's kind of cool. And now you're probably like, so glad I grabbed it. That is really cool.
Yeah, man. That's it's. I really like the Neo Geo games, and they're pretty. Like I don't know, there's something special about playing them the way that they're meant to be played. Like with this one, it's got the original like arcade kind of hand stick or stick that you can play with it on the TV. So I really love that.
Yeah, when I was sort of growing up around sort of 19, I lived with a couple of brothers and this was in Hobart, Tasmania, and they were two boys. Their dad owned a couple of the massive fishing trawlers down in Tassie there, and one of them was just a total bum and did stuff all and just got like heaps of pocket money. But the other one, Shane, would go out to sea, and we lived in this house with them, and Shane would go out to sea for like a month, and then he would come back with just like bags of money and just keep us all like really entertained for like 2 weeks in all sorts of fashions. But he would like one day he'd just turn up and just go, I bought a new stereo. He's like a, $12,000 Marantz stereo. And we're like, oh yeah, and someone would break a skateboard. He's like, oh, I picked up a skating for you while I was down the street. And it's like the best deck. And one day he came home. I only noticed because I remember thinking like, how rad was that? But he came home with this console, and it was a Neo Geo, and we just played the shit out. We didn't even know what was going on, but yeah, you just don't know how close you are to something that was that good. I remember one day he was away when he was out at sea, and we cranked his stereo up really loud to the point where it stopped. And we're like, oh shit, I think we just killed Shane's $18,000 Marantz, but it just had a cut-off thing, and that's pretty loud, eh? Like, that's loud.
That's rad, man. That's rad. It sounds like your own personal Father Christmas.
He was a little bit. Yeah, he was a little bit. Yeah. All right. Well, look, I really appreciate you talking about it, because it's good that you've come away from Ghostys with a positive. Like you said with Wonderboy, you're like, I really would be fine if I never play that again. But Ghostys, you've come away. And I guess it's the randomness. So I do appreciate you. Happy to sort of relive that ordeal with myself and anybody that's listening. I guess this opportunity for you to, we've banged off a fair few names of some pretty great people that have sort of helped you out. But if you want to kind of shout out anybody else that's out there that might be listening, and or anybody that's been a good support over, because COVID's been tough and all that sort of business,
Yeah, for sure. The first person I'd like to give a shout out to is my two kids who listen to this podcast in the car.
Oh, so do they?
Eric and Heidi. Yep.
Good on you.
Hi, kids. How are you going?
They'll be like, what? Us?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah. Just a huge shout out to the venue owners, really. Netherworld. So Ben and Jimmy there, who allow me to set world records at their venue and to set it up. Like I literally just walk off the street and then into the venue, and they've got everything up and running, beer, food all day. So can't complain with that. And
it's a great venue. I mean, it is actually a bar with great food, with heaps of cabs. But I mean, they do stuff like Little Monsters, which, is 3 hours on a Sunday once a month, where it's just about kids. Man. They just do so much for a community that, they support a lot of the sort of the subcultures of community that don't kind of have, we don't all get into football, and we don't all drive Nissan Patrols. We just kind of, we have imaginations, and we'd like to be able to express that freely. And they're just one of those venues that just lets people just come in and just enjoy a bloody good beer and a good feed and play some old school games. So there's a lot to like about what they do there. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you. I just want to kind of bolster that feeling.
No, man, they really reach out to their communities and listen to the people who are coming into the bar. Like, I remember I just rocked up on a Saturday, and there was all these people just sitting down doing sketches.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? And they're like, oh, we just started a sketch club. It's on their site. And, if you want to just grab a pen and paper, just come sit down and do a sketch. Like that. They welcome that kind of stuff in, like any kind of art or board games, like Dungeons and Dragons. It's fantastic.
They've always got some sort of art display on, or live music and stuff, and really kind of, being that voice for the quiet achievers that deserve it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And one more shout out, if that's okay.
You can have a dozen. There's at least a dozen people that want to hear their names.
Yeah, man. Just a shout out to Spaceys, who, like I said, sponsor our podcast.
They do.
Absolute legends. So that's Jerry and John up in Toowoomba. So if you're ever up that way, definitely give them a jump in and check out their venue. They've got some really cool stuff there, like a big buck and air hockey table and just arcades and pinball. So another good place to have a good feed as well. So
yeah, and
check it out.
Toowoomba's got a bit going on up there. I know I've talked to a buddy about going there doing some mountain biking and specifically sort of going up on the Saturday Arvo so we can stay in a hotel a couple of blocks away from Spaces and then hopefully get up in the morning feeling not too sketchy and then go ride our bikes. So and there's the Flower Festival and all, which sounds a bit sort of weird, but it is really a beautiful place to be that time of year.
Yeah, man, definitely.
All right, no worries. And yeah, look, a good shout out to, I guess, you know, like on your stream, there's a bunch of people in the background. I'll name as many as I can. You know, you guys are like John Tannio and Johnny Bond and Dennis Edmonds. We've spoken with Dennis before, and I'm sure there's a couple more in the room. But just like you said, the community as a whole is very supportive of this. You know, like there's always in a room of Brisbane arcade people, if you've got 15 people, there's always one sort of thinking about having a go at something or having a good nudge. And the other 14 people are always like, yep, let's do this. What do you need? You know, my thing about this podcast is it's as much about community as it is about playing the games. And it's super important. And I think the older you get, the more you realize that just having someone that's keen on what you're keen on and supportive and isn't going to try and nick it from you is super duper valuable.
Yeah, so, man. Yeah, definitely. There's
congrats for having all those excellent mates. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I'm a lucky guy. It's funny. A lot of gaming communities kind of have a bad rap.
Yeah.
But especially like you know, those, I don't know, like first-person shooters kind of things.
Yeah,
like
we're going to sound old. Those online Fortnite kind of things.
Yeah,
and stuff.
That's it.
12-year-olds talking like 27-year-olds, acting like 5-year-olds.
Yeah, man. But this community that we have together, like I said, BPAC is just like a time where like a bunch of your mates just come to the one place and you have a party. Because everyone's backing you with whatever your project is, and you're backing them. And it's not about it's not about trying to be better than anyone. Everyone's just happy to be who they are, and it's really awesome.
It is awesome. I just wish I could play games because I'm freaking hopeless.
You'll get there, man.
No, I have no ambition. I have almost every game I play. I can sort of hold my own on a bit of Tetris these days if I don't think about it, but I have a bell curve where I find a game, I kind of get okay at it, and I kind of get over the top, and then I just get terrible. It's just how it is. I must lose interest, or it sort of wears off, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to find something else. It's hard when you kind of got so many things you can poke your nose into as well. I couldn't play one game for 16, 18 months, mate. You're a legend.
We all find different ways to play it, though, isn't it? Like, you know,
yeah, that's right.
Not everyone's trying to go for a record or something like that.
Two.
Like, like I there's been times where I've played these games to the point where I'm dreading finishing work and the kids going to bed because I know I'm going to have to play an hour of Wonderboy. So it sounds like you're still having fun playing games, which is the main thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. You make it sound some sort of like mental cardio. I need to go and hit the treadmill for an hour and it's going to suck ass.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, buddy. Well, look, thanks so much for your time tonight. And thank you to your family for letting you come and chat with me and to share with us what it's like to be to really give it everything and come away with the silverware.
Yeah, no sweat, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries. And you and I will actually see each other in the not too distant future at Kong Off.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, buddy. You take it easy, eh?
All right, you too. See you, Chief.
Bye.